Hello there, I'm Gary Dorman from Gary Lee Panel Craft. Today we're going to be showing you different aspects of paintwork to car bodies. Right, now we've done the repairs on the vehicle. The filler work's all gone on, all been finished off. We use, this is called a grey Scotch Brite. They do different courses of this. This is quite a fine one. They do a red one, which is a lot coarser. Just if you look in there, there's a slight different colour. And the reason why, it's still shiny. So these Scotch Brites will get into those other little crevices. Just take the shine off so the primer sticks. Now the area is all prepped up. We've now got to stop when we priming the areas up, stop the overspray going everywhere else. If you prime this area up here, the overspray would go on the tyre, on the rim, on the bonnet, on the headlight. So these areas must be covered. If you're doing it outside, you'd need to mask out further because if there's a slight breeze, you can be priming up here, you can put a big lump of primer on your rear door, on your rear quarter. So bear that in mind. Try and get into a sealed area like we are in the spray booth. So what I'm doing, I'm using just an old blanket to cover over the wheel and tyre. Stop all the overspray, make sure it's nicely tucked in so when you start spraying it don't fall off. That's that done. Now we've got to mask the vehicle up. I'm using an 1-inch long tape. Put it in a nice length and just feed it round. And as you're masking, just lift it up and put it back down a little bit to get to the correct area. You will spend more time getting your overspray off than what you will do doing the job if you don't mask it up properly. So, the area's done. Now, paper that you can use, we use an 18-inch roll of brown paper. If you haven't got that, you can use newspaper or just spare bits of paper. One way of doing it is you put the masking tape on the edge, fold it over. Same thing on the next bit. I'll do 3 bits here just to show you. Then take it off. It's all there as one. Most cars are metallic. You don't want to get loads of overspray anywhere. So I'm going to go off of this line here to keep the overspray down nice and low. I'm going to mask it that way round and lift it up. What this allows, if you go the other way, oops, Daisy, go the other way, get a definite edge. A definite edge isn't good. Fold it the other way and it's a roll back. So when you spray that, the overspray doesn't build up the same way. If you spray with a So there, you'll have a line there. When you spray the car, even if you rub this line down, that line will come back again. Doing the roll back stops all that. So, length over there like that. Put a couple of little tacks on it, so when you're spraying, it doesn't fall over. On to the next bit. It needs to be primed up to about here, so give a nice little bit of space without giving yourself too much space. Spray there, keep them well away from there. A couple of little tacks on there so that doesn't fall back onto itself as well. This area here, cover the headlight up so you don't get no overspray there. Always try and make it look as neat as possible. If it looks good, in general, it is good. If it looks shabby, it's going to be shabby. Now this area is all ready for priming. Other than a bit of masking up around here, this area is as well. And I'll put another sheet of paper down here to stop any overspray going down there. But now the car is all masked up, ready for priming. The next part, the auto body repairs, is now completed. The car's now all prepped up, ready to go in primer. What we're going to use today, we're going to use cellulose. There are other products on the market. Cellulose really is more for perhaps for the DIY person. The paints, the primers that we normally use is either isocyanates, 2-pack primers, but again you need to have special areas in which you spray it. It needs to be properly ventilated, you need to have special breathing apparatus. So I'm going to talk you through the cellulose one. In general, you will get away with it, and to be honest with you, we used it for about 10 years in the business before we then changed over to the isocyanate 2-pack system. So what you've got, cellulose primer. Again, same thing as with all paints, give it a real good mix up, because the additive or the material that's at the bottom of it is what gives it the build. You will get away with using aerosol, but you will not get the build from the material, is what you will do with spraying from a spray gun. But then obviously with a spray gun, you need a compressor, an airline, and a spray gun, obviously. So the mixing ratio, when it comes out, there's your primer. As you can see how thick that is, but it needs to be fairly thick to cover up all the impurities that is on the vehicle to get a nice finish. This always needs to be done in a well ventilated area. You can see the mixing ratio there. It's I'm going to go a little bit thicker. About 2 to 1. 2 parts primer, 1 part thinners. Same thing when you're mixing up your top coat colour for the priming. Give it a real good mix up, because the heavier material will lay on that bottom, and you need it to be the same mixture ratio from top to bottom. So give that a real good mix, and you get viscosity will be just about right. Right, that's that done. Spray gun. When we finish using the spray gun, we always put the cap, after we clean the gun out, back into the pot with a little bit of thinners. Over there. Just to keep it all soft and moist. Then we put our product. To the paint gun. And now that's ready to go on the vehicle. Right, now the car's been all prepped up, all masked up. Now it's time to put a coat of primer on there. I've mixed the primer up, put it in the spray gun. I've done a little tester just to make sure that the material is coming out. So I'm just doing it on a bit of the masking paper, just to make sure that I've got a nice fan. It's all doing exactly what it should do. Got my gloves on, my overalls. I'm going to put a face mask on This being cellulose, as long as it's well ventilated and needs to be warm, you'll be fine with it. Pull the trigger in, air comes out. No volume, no material, just air. And when you go past that stage, that is when the material starts coming off. So you need to get familiar with your spray gun and get used to pulling it halfway in and the feel of it. If you just blast it on, it will run everywhere. If you stop your movement, you need to stop your volume. Because if you don't, it goes like that. Which looks fine at the moment, but it runs. You can see how wet that is. And you can see there where it's all dripping down inside the paper. You do not want to get runs. So many other complications happen from doing that. If you're doing it with an aerosol, you just want to give it a coat, let it dry, go back to it, give it another coat. The warmer it is, the quicker it'll dry. What is a good way of doing it? When you're putting it in primer, give it a coat of primer, then prime something else up that you can touch. So if you're spraying this, spray this, and put a little squirt on your paper. That way, when you touch that, it should be tacky, literally tacky. So if your finger sticks to it, you're ready for your next coat. If it's still wet, don't give it another coat because it will rub. So now, put my mask on. And I'm ready to start spraying. So that's had one coat. It needs to have at least 4, 5 coats. I would not give that another coat until that coat's fully cured, then give it another coat, let that cure. You don't want it necessarily to fully cure, as long as it goes tacky, that's good enough. And just keep building. If you're going to aerosol, I reckon I'd probably double that amount. And even so, you might find after giving it, say, 10 coats of aerosol, you might rub it down to spray and you might go through and you repeat the whole process again. If you're going to use an aerosol, make sure you use a high build aerosol. At least you've got half the chance of getting a little bit of build on there. And that's what you need. You need to get primer build on there. So when you're rubbing it down, don't go through. If you go through anywhere, it'll be re-primed up again. But with a spray gun, you can normally hire the equipment. That is the way that I would go. You've got half a chance of getting a sensible build. That is the vehicle. With 4 or 5 coats on top of that, that is it in primer, ready then to be wet flatted and sprayed. On a bumper repair, because of the material that's used, you can buy special fillers for bumpers. This is fairly solid, but it still is a little bit flexible. Damage was large. I'd probably use the correct filler on there, which is a flexible filler. But in general, just for little bits, which is all I've used it for, you can get away with normal filler, which, to be honest, it normally goes on better and cuts back a lot nicer. The only problem you're going to find, depending on what bumpers material you use, where the edges are, it gets a bit fluffy. So even though the air is all in primer nicely, you rub it down with your hand, fill it with your hand, you can feel a rough edge, which is what's happened on this. I've gave it 3 coats of primer and I can feel the rough edge. So, I don't know if you can see it there. It's nice and smooth around the outside area, but just where we've rubbed down in the centre, it's rough. So what we do, I've got a bit of 400. This is an old DA pad. Very lightly, nip over the top, give it a little rub down, take the impurities off. Could give that 10 coats of primer and that would still feel rough. So it's had 3 coats, which is enough that I know that I can rub that down without going through the primer. Taking that top surface of roughness off. When I re-prime it up again, that will all be fine. While I'm doing that area there, the area above it, even though it's part of the bodywork, I'll nib that off as well. Any little impurities, just takes it all off. And then when you re-prime up again, it should come out all lovely. Right, that's ready now for another coat of primer. Spraying in a confined area, make sure you've got a sensible amount of ventilation, because the fumes will get to you without a doubt. So tempting to give it its last coat on it now, where that coat needs to dry. So I want to get this ready to spray shortly. And between coats, you need to make sure that it's fully cured. So I'm going to leave that for a couple more minutes. I'm going to put some more heat in the spray booth to help bake that off. Then I'll give it its final coat as that starts to go tacky. And that basically is the last finished off job. Then now the vehicle's all in primer, ready for the to be re-prepped up and go into the top coat. Hope what we've explained to you today has come in useful. If there's any other problems, you can check out our website or give us a phone call, and we'll be glad to help you out.